Am I the a-hole for refusing to attend my boyfriend's sister's wedding after she uninvited me? But he still plans to go.
Hey Reddit, throwaway account for obvious reasons. This whole situation has me spiraling, and I honestly don't know
if I'm being selfish or standing up for myself. I'm 28F, and I've been dating my boyfriend Liam 30M for almost 3 years. We've lived together for about a year now. He's truly the love of my life. Kind, dependable, sweet the first. Guy who's ever made me feel emotionally safe.
His family, though, let's just say I've always felt like an outsider.
His parents are polite but cold, and his older sister, Rachel 30F, has never liked me from the start. Rachel made passive-aggressive comments about me. She'd say things like, "You don't seem like Liam's usual type," or, "Wow, you moved in kind of fast, huh?" I brushed it off as protectiveness at first, but it's been 3 years.
I've never done anything to her.
In fact, I've always gone out of my way to be warm and respectful. Last year, Rachel got engaged to her fiancé Thomas.
At the engagement dinner, she publicly toasted to people who believe in true commitment, while glancing right at me and Liam. When I asked Liam about it later, he brushed it off and said, "She's just being dramatic, don't let it
get to you." Fast forward to this March.
Rachel sent out save the date cards and I was included by name.
Her MOM even texted me asking for my dietary restrictions for the wedding meal. I assumed things had cooled down. Then last week, I got an email from Rachel.
Not even a call, an email. It basically said, "Hi, my name. After discussing things with Thomas and due to limited seating, we've had to make some tough decisions regarding the guest list. While we appreciate your relationship with Liam, we've decided to keep the wedding limited to immediate family and very close friends. We hope you understand." I stared at my screen in shock.
I felt humiliated. I called Liam right away and read the email to him, practically in tears. His first response?
"Yeah, Rachel mentioned she was thinking of downsizing." I asked if he knew I was being uninvited, and he hesitated before saying, "She said some people might not make the
final list." I was furious. This wasn't some random coworker. I'm his partner of 3 years. We live together.
We share a life. I told Liam that I wouldn't be attending, obviously.
And then I said I didn't want him to go either, that it felt like a betrayal if he did.
Rachel didn't just exclude me.
She publicly demoted me, and him attending, in my eyes, was condoning it. He got quiet and said, "It's my sister's wedding. I can't just not go." I asked, "So you're okay with me being humiliated and erased like this?" He said, "It's not personal.
It's just her being weird. I'll talk to her." The next day, he did talk to her. I could hear part of the conversation. He kept it light, joked with her, tried to play peacemaker. Afterward, he came into the room and said, "She's not budging." She said it's a final decision, and not meant as a dick. She hopes you're not offended. I couldn't believe it.
I asked if he told her how hurtful it was.
He just shrugged and said, "You know how she is.
If I push her hard, it will turn into a thing. I just want to keep the peace." So I told him, "Fine. But if you go to that wedding without me,
you're telling your whole family that I'm not important.
That I'm not real to you." He told me I was being dramatic and that he can't just boycott his only sister's wedding. But I feel like if the roles were reversed, if my brother uninvited him, I would never go. I wouldn't even hesitate. Now, it's been a few days.
We've barely spoken.
He says he's still planning to go to the wedding, but he doesn't want it to wreck us. He keeps saying, "It's just one day," but to me, it's not.
It feels like a statement. A public statement that I don't matter. So Reddit. Am I the a-hole for refusing to attend this wedding and expecting my boyfriend to do the same?
Or am I asking too much? Edit 1. Wow, I did not expect this to blow up.
Thank you for all the comments. I've read a lot of them, and they've given me so much to think about. A few clarifications. Rachel and I have never had a blow-up or even a direct confrontation.
It's always been subtle digs, exclusion, and smiling shade. I do believe this was a targeted exclusion.
There are mutual friends and acquaintances still invited, even people Liam hasn't spoken to in years. So I don't buy the limited seating excuse.
Liam is very non-confrontational. He avoids conflict like the plague.
But I'm starting
to realize that avoiding conflict often means enabling it. Update. It's been a rough couple of weeks. After reading your comments and doing some deep thinking, I sat Liam down for a serious talk.
I told him this wasn't about a wedding. It was about respect.
About partnership. About whether I am truly a part of his life or just someone convenient to have around. I asked him flat out, would you be okay with me being excluded from other family events too?
Holidays, future celebrations,
Your parents' anniversary.
party? He said no, of course not.
But then I asked, so why is this okay?
He didn't have a good answer. He ended up not going to the wedding. It wasn't a grand romantic gesture.
In fact, he looked miserable making the decision. But he told Rachel he couldn't support her decision to exclude me, and that he needed to stand by me. Whether she liked it or not, Rachel blew up.
She texted me something petty. Wow, you must be really proud of yourself. You win, I didn't. Respond, the wedding happened last weekend. Liam stayed home.
We went hiking instead.
It was awkward at first, but slowly things felt normal again. He's been quiet, but more present.
I think he's realizing that being passive isn't the same as being neutral, and that neutrality often sides with the aggressor. I don't
know what this means long term.
I love Liam deeply, but this whole situation has shaken me. I've seen how reluctant he is to advocate for me. I don't need drama or fireworks, but I need backbone. And I'm not sure he has it. So no, I don't think I'm the a-hole, but I also don't think this is over. Not by a long shot. TL. Dear, my boyfriend's sister uninvited me from her wedding despite me being his long-term partner. I felt humiliated and told him I didn't want him to go if I wasn't welcome. He initially planned to attend anyway, saying it wasn't personal.
After a lot of talking and Reddit input, he chose not to go. The wedding happened. We stayed home. And now we're trying to figure out where we go from here. So, Reddit. Was I the a-hole?
Am I the a-hole for telling my fiancé I don't want his female best friend involved in our wedding planning anymore?
Hey Reddit. I 29F am getting married to my fiancé Daniel 31M next spring. We've been together for 4 years, and he proposed about 7 months ago.
I love him deeply. He's thoughtful, funny, driven, emotionally intelligent.
In almost every way. He's my dream partner, except for one thing. Her name is Jessie. Jessie 31F has been Daniel's best friend
since college.
They were roommates for a bit in their mid-20s, and they've always been close. Too close, if you ask me.
When we first started dating, I was told up front that Jessie was like a sister to him, and that she'd always be in his life. That didn't bother me at first. I get that people can have platonic friendships across genders, but very early on, the boundaries seemed
blurry. Jessie texts him constantly. I'm talking daily, sometimes late into the night. I remember, once, during our second year of dating, we were on a weekend trip and she FaceTimed him twice in a day just because she missed talking to him.
I found it odd, but he brushed it off.
She's dramatic, he said.
That's just how she is, okay.
Whatever. Then when we moved in together, Jessie helped us decorate the apartment.
And by helped, I mean she came with us to IKEA.
Critiqued almost every piece I picked, and insisted Daniel should get this modern bookshelf like the one we had in our old place. Every time she said that our old place, it made my skin crawl. Still, I held my tongue. I didn't want to seem jealous or controlling. Things really came to a head during wedding planning. From the moment we got engaged, Jessie has acted like she's the CEO bride. She created a shared Pinterest board with Daniel full of wedding ideas, which I wasn't even invited to.
She went to see venues with him while I was away for a work trip, without telling me.
And then she critiqued every one of my suggestions, from flower arrangements, roses are so basic, to color palette, mauve washes people out.
To bridesmaids' dresses, you're not really doing sequins, are you?
I've tried to be diplomatic.
I've tried to include her when I can.
I even asked her to be one of my bridesmaids because I didn't want to make waves. But last weekend, I finally snapped. We were having a planning meeting at our place. Me, Daniel, my maid of honor Claire, and Jessie.
I brought up the idea of a
live jazz band for the reception, and Jessie immediately wrinkled her nose and said, "YHH, that's more your vibe, not Daniel's."
He always said he hates jazz. Daniel kind of laughed, but didn't say anything. Then she pulled out a mock itinerary she made for the day, including timing, music suggestions, and even a seating chart. I was stunned. I hadn't seen it before. Daniel looked sheepish.
Turns out, they'd been texting ideas back and forth for weeks. When I asked why I wasn't looped in, Jessie said, "Well, you've been super busy with work, so I figured I'd take the load off." That's when I lost it.
I said, "Jessie,
this isn't your wedding. You need to take a step back." She looked shocked.
Daniel got flustered.
I told them both I didn't want Jessie involved in the wedding planning anymore. Period. Jessie got up, said she was just trying to help, and left. Later that night, Daniel and I fought. He said I was rude and ungrateful, and that Jessie has been helping a lot. He said she's just trying to make the day special, and that she's known him longer than anyone, that she gets his taste. I told him she's planning our wedding like she's the bride. He rolled his eyes and said I was overreacting, that Jessie has always been like this and that I'm being jealous. I asked him if he'd be okay if my male best friend was constantly texting me late at night, going behind his back to plan details, and inserting himself into our relationship this way. He didn't answer. It's been 3 days. Jessie hasn't reached out, and Daniel is still upset.
He said I should apologize, or at least let her back in to keep the peace. But I feel like I finally drew a boundary that should have been
there from the start. I don't want someone who's clearly emotionally attached to my fiancé involved in planning the most intimate day of our lives. So Reddit. Am I the a-hole for kicking Jessie out of the wedding planning and not wanting her involved anymore?
Edit. Since this blew up, here are some clarifications based on common comments. Daniel and Jessie never dated, according to both of them.
And I believe that.
But I do think there's emotional enmeshment that they don't recognize.
She's
not in love with him, per se, but there's a possessiveness that borders on inappropriate.
I didn't just kick her out suddenly.
I've had multiple conversations with Daniel before about how uncomfortable her involvement makes me.
He always told me to just ignore it. My maid of honor Claire also thinks Jessie is overstepping, and she's not a jealous person by any means. Update. So, Daniel and I had a very hard conversation last night. After days of cold shoulders and awkward silence, I sat him down and told him this wasn't just about Jessie. It was about whether he saw me as his partner, his equal in this marriage. I told him point blank, if Jessie is your emotional go-to for everything, why are you marrying me? He didn't take it well at first, said I was being unfair,
that he's never cheated, never lied, and that I am making a big deal over friendship. But after a long, teary conversation, he admitted something that caught me off guard. He said he thinks Jessie might have feelings for him,
that he suspected it for a while but never wanted to confront it, that a part of him liked feeling safe around her, no pressure, no expectations, just familiarity. He admitted that letting her be part of the wedding planning was easier,
because he didn't have to think as much, she just took charge. I asked him if he was in love with her. He said no, that he wants to marry me, and only me,
that I'm his future. Then I asked, are you willing to put boundaries in place with Jessie to prove that? He hesitated,
but he said yes. We decided together that Jessie will remain a bridesmaid, but she won't be involved in the planning going forward. He called her today and told her himself. I don't know what she said, but he said she was quiet, then said
she understood. I know this won't be the last boundary we have to reinforce,
but I finally feel like I matter in this relationship again. So no, Reddit. I don't think I'm the a-hole. I think I'm just someone who wants to feel like the actual bride at her own wedding. TL. DR. My fiancé's female best friend has been over-involved in our wedding planning, going so far as to make decisions without me. I finally told her
to back off.
My fiancé thinks I'm being dramatic, but I think I'm finally drawing healthy boundaries.
So,
am I the a-hole? Aita for exposing my sister's affair at her engagement party and ruining her wedding. Posted in our Mythy asshole 2 hours ago. 28 FM still shaking as I write this.
My family is completely torn apart, and I don't know if I did the right thing. This is going to be long, but I need to give you all the context. My sister Emma 26F has always been the golden child. She's beautiful, charming, successful in her marketing career, and our parents have always doted on her. I've never been jealous.
Exactly, but there's always been this underlying tension between us. She got into the better college, landed the dream job, and now she was about to have the perfect wedding. Emma got engaged to David 29 8 months ago.
David is honestly a catch. He's a pediatric surgeon, comes from a good family, treats Emma like a princess, and my parents absolutely adore him.
He's the kind of guy who remembers everyone's birthday, brings flowers to family dinners, and has already started calling my parents Mom and Dad.
The engagement party was supposed to be this beautiful celebration at my parents' country club with 150 guests, but here's where it gets complicated. 3 weeks ago, I was at a coffee shop downtown when I saw Emma with another man. At first,
I thought maybe it was a work colleague, but then I saw them kiss.
Not a friendly peck, but a full-on passionate kiss.
I was shocked and didn't know what to do, so I just left without saying anything. I couldn't stop thinking about it.
The man looked familiar, and after some Facebook stalking, I figured out it was Marcus 31M, Emma's ex-boyfriend. From college, they dated for 2 years and broke up about 4 years ago when he moved to settle for work.
Apparently, he'd moved back to town recently. I was torn about what to do.
Part of me thought I should talk to Emma directly, but we've never had that kind of relationship where we confide in each other. Part of me thought I should tell David, but I barely knew him well enough for that kind of conversation.
And part of me wondered if I should just stay out of it entirely, but then I kept seeing them together.
I saw Emma's car parked outside Marcus's apartment building twice. I saw them having lunch at a restaurant across town.
Each time, I felt sicker about the whole situation.
David was planning this elaborate wedding,
talking about their future kids, and looking at houses for them to buy together. 2 weeks ago, I finally decided to confront Emma. I called her and said I needed to talk to her about something important.
She seemed annoyed but agreed to meet me for coffee.
When I told her what I'd seen, her face went white, then red, then she got defensive. "It's not what you think," she said.
"Marcus and I are just catching up.
"We're friends." I told her that.
"Friends don't make out in coffee shops," and she broke down crying. She admitted that yes, she'd been seeing Marcus, but that it was complicated. She said she loved David, but that Marcus was her what-if person, the one who got away. She said she was confused and trying to figure out her feelings before the wedding. I told her she needed to either break up with David or cut contact with Marcus immediately.
She promised me she would handle it and begged me not to say anything
to anyone. She said she just needed time to sort out her feelings and that she would make the right decision, but nothing changed. If anything, it got worse.
I saw them together 3 more times over the next 2 weeks. Emma was posting happy couple photos with David on Instagram while sneaking around with Marcus.
It was making me physically ill watching David make wedding
plans while being completely oblivious. The breaking point came 5 days ago. I was picking up dry cleaning when I saw Emma and Marcus coming out of a hotel together in the middle of the afternoon.
There was no ambiguity about what they'd been doing. Emma saw me, and we just stared at each other for a moment before she got in her car and drove away. That night, David called me. He wanted to surprise Emma with something special for the engagement party and asked if I knew what kind of flowers were her favorite. Hearing his excitement and love for my sister while knowing what she was doing behind his back was unbearable. I made a decision that I'm now questioning. I called Marcus. I got his number from Emma's old phone. She'd left it at my parents' house
months ago and never picked it up.
I told him I knew about the affair and that he needed to end it. Marcus was surprisingly calm about the whole thing.
He said he loved Emma and that she was unhappy with David, just going through the motions.
Because it looked good on paper. She's only marrying him because he's safe and her parents approve, Marcus said.
But she's not happy.
She tells me all the time. This made me even angrier. I told Marcus that if Emma wasn't happy, she should be honest about it instead of leading David on.
Marcus said that Emma was planning to call off the wedding but was scared of disappointing everyone.
She's going to tell him after the engagement party, Marcus claimed.
She just wants to get through this weekend. I didn't believe him.
I think Emma was planning to have her cake and eat it to marry David for the stability and status while
continuing to see Marcus on the side. Oh, here's where I might be the asshole.
The engagement party was last night. It was beautiful, held in the country club's ballroom with twinkling lights, elegant floral arrangements, and a string quartet. Emma looked stunning in a blue cocktail dress, and David looked handsome in his suit.
Our parents had invited everyone, family, friends, David's colleagues, Emma's co-workers, people from the country club. David's best man gave a speech about their love story. Emma's best friend talked about how perfect they were together.
My parents beamed with pride. David looked at Emma like she hung the moon, and I couldn't take it anymore. When it was time for the toasts, I asked for the microphone. I said I had something special to share about my sister.
Everyone smiled and applauded, expecting some sweet story about growing up together. Instead, I said, "Emma, I love you, but I can't watch you do this to David. Everyone here deserves to know the truth before they celebrate an engagement based on lies." The room went dead silent.
Emma's face went pale. David looked confused. I continued. For the past 3 weeks, Emma has been having an affair with her ex-boyfriend Marcus. I've seen them together multiple times, including coming out of a hotel 5 days ago. David, I'm sorry you had to find out this way. But you deserve better than someone who would cheat on you while planning your wedding. The chaos that followed was unbelievable. Emma started screaming at me, calling me jealous and bitter. David looked like he'd been punched in the gut. My mother started crying. My father looked furious at me, not Emma.
Guests were pulling out their phones to record the drama. David walked out without saying a word.
Emma ran after him, but he got in his car and drove away.
Emma came back inside, mascara running down her face, and slapped me in front of everyone before leaving as well. My parents were mortified.
My mother told me I was cruel and that I destroyed Emma's life out of jealousy. My father said I should have handled it privately and that I'd humiliated the entire family. Several relatives and family friends told me I was out of line before leaving. The party ended with people awkwardly filtering out while my parents tried to salvage some dignity from the situation.
I helped clean up in silence, and then my parents
Told me they were disappointed beyond words and that I needed to think about what I'd done. Since then, Emma has been staying with a friend and won't answer my calls or texts.
David apparently went to his parents' house and has been unreachable.
The wedding is supposed to be in 6 weeks, and obviously, it's not happening now. My parents
are dealing with cancelling vendors and losing deposits. Emma's friends have been posting on social media about how I'm a terrible sister who ruined her happiness.
Some are saying I was jealous because I'm single and couldn't stand to see Emma happy. Others are calling me a hero for saving David from a cheating fiancé. Marcus apparently has been trying to reach Emma, but she's not responding to him either.
According to a mutual friend, Emma is devastated and saying that she was going to end things with Marcus and that I ruined everything before she could make it right. My parents called me yesterday and said that Emma is heartbroken and that David
won't take her calls.
They said the family may never recover from this and that I need to find a way to fix what I have broken.
They suggested I call David and Emma and tell everyone that I made it up out of jealousy, but I can't do that. I saw what I saw. Emma was cheating, and David deserved to know before he married her.
I keep thinking about how much worse it would have been if he'd found out after the wedding. Maybe after they'd bought a house together or had kids, some of.
My friends are supporting me, saying I did the right thing even if my timing was terrible.
Others think I should have found a way to handle it privately.
My coworker said I should have told David directly instead of making a public spectacle. I've been losing sleep over this.
I keep replaying the moment I took that microphone, wondering if there was a better way.
Maybe I should have confronted Emma one more time. Maybe I should have talked to David privately.
Maybe I should have talked to my parents first and let them handle it.
But I also keep thinking about David's face when he was talking about surprising Emma with flowers. I think about how excited he was about their future together. I think about how devastated he would have been to find out months or years into their marriage that his wife had been cheating on him since before their wedding. Emma is saying she was going to end things with Marcus and come clean to David, but I don't believe her. She had multiple opportunities to do the right thing over the past 3 weeks, and instead, she just got deeper into the affair. She was posting happy couple photos with David while sneaking around with Marcus. That doesn't sound like someone who was planning to come clean. My parents are furious with me and are saying I've destroyed the family. Emma's friends are calling me jealous and vindictive. But David's friends and family have been reaching out to thank me for telling the truth, saying they could tell something was off with Emma, but couldn't put their finger on what. I found out yesterday that David has hired a lawyer and is looking into whether he can recover any of the money he's already spent on the wedding. Apparently, he'd already bought Emma a very expensive wedding gift, a diamond tennis bracelet that cost more than my car that he can't return. Emma is apparently telling people that Marcus and I planned this together to break up her and David, which is completely untrue.
She's saying that Marcus has been pursuing her and that I encouraged him because I was jealous of her relationship. This is absolutely not what happened, and I'm hurt that she would make up lies about me. The worst part is that I miss my sister. Despite everything, I love Emma and I hate that our relationship might be permanently damaged.
But I also can't regret protecting David from marrying someone who was actively cheating on him. I know the timing was awful. I know I embarrassed my family. I know I could have handled it better. But I also know that Emma was living a lie, and that David deserved to know the truth before he committed his life to someone who was betraying him. So Reddit. Aita. Should I have stayed out of it? Should I have found a different way to handle the situation? Was I wrong to expose Emma's affair at the engagement party? Or did David deserve to know the truth regardless of the timing? I honestly don't know anymore. My family is destroyed. My sister hates me. And I'm questioning every decision I made.
But I keep coming back to the fact that David deserved better than being deceived on one of the most important days of his life. Update. Thank you for all the
Responses. I'm reading through them and trying to process everything. I know I made mistakes in how I handled this, but I still believe David deserved to know the truth. I just wish there had been a better way to do it that didn't destroy my entire family. In the process, edit. Stop deeming me asking for Emma's social media or trying to get more details about David. This is a real situation affecting real people, and I'm not going to give out personal information. Edit 2. To everyone asking why I didn't just talk to David privately, I thought about it, but I barely knew him well enough for that conversation.
I was worried he wouldn't believe me, or that Emma would just deny everything and make me look crazy. I thought if I had to tell the truth, it should be in front of witnesses, so she couldn't lie her way out of it.
I realize now that was the wrong
approach. Edit 3. Some people are asking about Marcus.
I haven't heard from him since the engagement party.
I assume he's trying to reach Emma, but I don't know for sure. I'm not in contact with him and don't plan to be. Am I the a-hole for making my boyfriend choose between me or his ex-wife's birthday tradition?
Hi Reddit. Throwaway account because my boyfriend knows my main.
I'm writing this out in disbelief because I genuinely can't tell if I'm being
insecure or if I have a right to be upset. I 27F have been dating my boyfriend Mason 30 for just under 2 years. He's wonderful, mature, emotionally intelligent, thoughtful, and we have the most peaceful, supportive relationship I've ever experienced. He was married before, to a woman named Lauren. They divorced 3 years ago. No kids, just a mutual realization that the marriage had run its course. At least that's how Mason describes it. I've never had any reason to be jealous of Lauren. He's been very open about their history and even about how painful the divorce was for both of them.
They were high school sweethearts, got married
in their mid-20s, and were together for nearly a decade.
I actually admired how respectfully he spoke about her, never any bitterness, just closure and emotional maturity. Here's the thing.
Every year, since they were 19, Mason and Lauren have had this birthday tradition. They go to a specific Italian restaurant, same one every year, order the same bottle of wine, and spend the evening catching up, just the two of them. Even during their marriage, even after the divorce, they've never missed it. A tea first. I thought it was sweet, bittersweet even. I figured it would phase out over time. But last year, when her birthday rolled around, Mason casually mentioned he had dinner plans and it turned out it was with her. I didn't say anything at the time because we'd only been dating for 5 months, and I didn't feel like I had a right to be upset. But now, it's year 2 of our relationship. We've talked about moving in together. We've met each other's families. We're serious. And yet, a few days ago, he told me he's keeping Tuesday free because it's Lauren's birthday again, and he doesn't want to break tradition. I blinked at him for a solid 5 seconds.
I said, "Wait, you are still doing that?"
He looked at me like I was being unreasonable. He said, "It's a harmless dinner. We do it every year. It's part of my life." I said, "So is our relationship." He sighed and said that I'm important to him, but that this dinner has been part of his life longer than any relationship he's had.
That it's not about feelings, just about honoring a decade-long routine between two people who once meant something to each other. I said, "But it is about feelings."
It's emotional intimacy, Mason. He rolled his eyes and said it's nothing of the sort.
That it's like visiting an old friend's grave, a nod to the past, not a desire to relive it. I told him I wasn't comfortable with it.
Not anymore. I asked if I could come with him. He said no, it's just something they do alone. I asked if he'd be okay with me having dinner alone with my ex every year. Same restaurant, same date, same wine. He got quiet.
Then he said, if it was a decade-long tradition that meant nothing romantic, I get it. But that's the thing, it was romantic once.
They were married. They were in love. And now I'm sitting here being told that I can't come. I can't ask him not to go. I just have to accept this ritual he does with his ex-wife every year. So I told him, "Mason, if you go, I'm not going to be here waiting afterward. I can't be second to your memories. I'm your girlfriend, not your footnote." He got really quiet. Said he didn't expect this kind of ultimatum from me. That it felt manipulative. That I'm trying to erase his past. I said, "I'm not erasing your past. But if I'm your future, I shouldn't have to share your present with your ex-wife. He's been distant ever since.
We haven't spoken properly in 3 days.
Tuesday is coming up, and I don't know what he's going to do. So Reddit. Am I the hole?
For asking him to give up a tradition with his ex-wife, or at least not go this year, and making it clear I won't tolerate it anymore.
Edit. For clarification, I am not threatened by Lauren as a person. I've never met her, and from what I know, she's remarried and lives a few hours away. No, I don't think he's cheating.
It's not about that. It's about emotional loyalty.
He never hid the tradition from me, but he never really asked how I felt either. It's always been presented as a this is just how it is kind of deal.
I've told him I'm fine with staying friends with the exes.
I just think yearly solo birthday dinners are different, especially given their romantic history. Update. So.
He went. He texted me Tuesday morning and said, I thought about what you said, but I can't cancel. It's important to me. That was it.
No call. No visit.
Just a single text. I didn't reply. I packed a weekend bag, turned my phone off, and stayed with my sister for 3 days. I needed time to think. When I came back yesterday, Mason was home.
He looked exhausted. I asked how dinner was. He said it was awkward, that Lauren had gotten there before him and said, Are we really still doing this?
Apparently she brought her husband's scarf with her and kept looking at the clock. He said it felt different this year, like something sacred had become
stale,
staged. I told him, sometimes when you hold on too tightly to the past, you miss the future that's right in front of you. He didn't say anything at first.
Then he sat down and said, I think I messed up. I told him I agree. We
talked. A long, honest, messy talk. He admitted that he clung to the tradition because it was the last thing that connected him to who he used to be.
That he was scared of growing into a new chapter and leaving everything else behind.
That in a weird way, it felt like admitting he was really divorced if he let it go. I said, But you are divorced, Mason.
And now, you with me.
So what are we building? If it still has someone else's name carved into the cornerstone. He didn't have an answer. That night, he deleted the reservation for next year. He said he's done with the tradition.
That he wants to build new ones.
With me, we're not perfect, and this almost broke us.
But I feel like we've reached a turning point. So no, Reddit. I don't think I'm the whole.
I think I'm someone who refused to be romantic background noise in someone else's story.
Aita for destroying my cheating husband's career after I found out about his affair with my best friend. I 30 to F discovered something 3 months ago that completely shattered my world, and my response has divided everyone I know.
Some people
are calling me a hero. Others are saying I went too far.
I need unbiased opinions because I honestly don't know if I'm in the right anymore.
My husband Jake 30 for M, and I have been married for 7 years, together for 10.
We met in college, and I genuinely thought we had the perfect marriage.
He's a successful financial advisor at a prestigious firm. I work as a graphic designer, and we have a beautiful house in the suburbs. We've been trying to have kids for the past 2 years, which has been stressful, but I thought we were handling it well together. My best friend since childhood, Melissa 31F, has been like a sister to me.
She was my maid of honor. She's the godmother to my brother's kids, and she's been over at our house at least twice a week for the past 7 years. Jake always joked that he got to wives when he married me because Melissa was always around. I thought it was sweet how well they got along.
Melissa went through a messy divorce 2 years ago, and Jake and I supported her through the whole thing.
She stayed in our guest room for 3 months while she got back on her feet. Jake helped her find a good lawyer. I helped her move into
her new apartment, and we basically became her support system.
She was so grateful and kept saying how lucky I was to have such an amazing husband and how she hoped to find someone like Jake someday.
3 months ago, I came home early from a client meeting because they had to reschedule.
I walked into my house and heard noises coming from upstairs.
At first, I thought maybe Jake was watching TV or something, but as I got closer to our bedroom, I realized what I was hearing. I found my husband of 7 years having sex with my best friend since we were 12 years old.
In our bed.
The bed where we've been trying to conceive a child.
The confrontation was brutal.
They both scrambled to get dressed while I screamed at them. Melissa was crying and saying it just happened and that they never meant for it to go this far. Jake was trying to calm me down and saying we could work through this. But here's the thing that made it so much worse when I demanded to know how long it had been going on. They finally admitted it started 8 months ago.
8 months.
This wasn't some one-time mistake or moment of weakness.
This was a full-blown
affair that had been happening under my nose for most of a year. Even worse, it started when Melissa was staying in our house during her divorce. While I was comforting her and helping her through the hardest time in her life, she was sleeping with my husband, while Jake was holding me at night and talking about our future children. He was sneaking around with my best friend. The details that came out over the next few days made it even more devastating. They had been together in our house when I was at work. They had gone on weekend trips together, telling me they were going to visit Melissa's sister or that Jake had work conferences. They had inside jokes and a whole secret relationship that I was completely oblivious to. The worst part was realizing how many times they had looked me in the eye and lied to me. All those times Melissa came over for girls' nights and Jake would conveniently have to run errands. All those times Jake worked late and came home smelling like Melissa's perfume, which I never questioned because she was always hugging him goodbye when she left our house.
I moved out that same day and stayed with my sister.
Jake kept calling and texting, begging me to come home so we could talk. Melissa sent me a 10-page letter explaining how sorry she was and how the affair brought out feelings they didn't know they had, but that they never wanted to hurt me.
I filed for divorce immediately.
But here's where it gets complicated and where I might be the asshole. During the divorce proceedings, I found out that Jake had been using our joint credit cards to pay for his affair.
Hotel rooms, expensive
dinners, weekend trips, jewelry for Melissa, thousands of dollars of our money that he'd been spending on his mistress while telling me we needed to budget more carefully for our fertility treatments.
I was already angry, but this sent me into a rage.
I started digging deeper into our finances and found out even more disturbing things. Jake had been taking money from our savings account money we had specifically set aside for fertility treatments,
and eventually a down payment on a bigger house for our future family to fund his affair.
But the worst discovery was when I found emails between Jake and Melissa talking about me. They called me clueless and boring. Melissa wrote that she felt sorry for Jake being stuck with someone so vanilla and that she was doing him a favor. Jake wrote back that he loved the excitement of sneaking around and that being with Melissa made him feel alive again. Reading those emails broke something in me. It wasn't just that they had betrayed me, it was that they had been laughing at me while they did it. So I decided to get revenge. Jake works for a very prestigious financial advisory firm that prides itself on trust, integrity, and family values. His boss, Robert, is a devout Christian who has made it clear that he expects his employees to reflect the company's values both professionally and personally. Jake has always played up his family man image at work, bringing me to company events and talking about how much he wanted kids. I knew that if Robert found out about Jake's affair, especially the financial aspects of it, it would destroy Jake's career. The company has a strict ethics policy, and using joint funds to support an extramarital affair would definitely violate their standards. So I made copies of everything. The credit card statements showing the hotel charges and expensive dinners. The bank statements showing the money taken from our savings. Screenshots of the emails where Jake and Melissa mocked me.
Photos I had taken of them together that I found on Jake's phone.
I put it all in a folder and hand-delivered it to Robert's office. I told Robert that I was divorcing Jake due to his affair, and that I thought the company should know that one of their senior advisors had been stealing money from joint accounts to fund his infidelity. I explained that Jake had been lying to clients about his personal life and that his behavior violated the company's ethics standards. Robert was shocked. He thanked me for bringing it to his attention and said he would handle the situation appropriately. Jake was fired 3 days later, but I wasn't done.
Melissa works as a real estate agent, and her success depends heavily on her reputation in our small community.
She markets herself as trustworthy and reliable, someone who treats clients like family. I created a detailed social media post explaining what had happened. I didn't use names, but I included enough details that anyone who knew us would know exactly who I was talking about. I posted screenshots of some of the milder text messages, nothing explicit, just things that proved the affair, and explained how my best friend since childhood had slept with my husband in my own home while I was helping her through her divorce. The post went viral in our community. Within 24 hours, it had been shared hundreds of times. Melissa's phone was ringing constantly, not with new clients, but with people calling to confront her or cancel their listings with her. Melissa's real estate career imploded. She's lost most of her clients and her reputation in town is destroyed.
She's had to move to a different city to try to start over.
Jake can't find work anywhere in our city because word has gotten around about why he was fired.
He's had to move back in with his parents and he's looking for jobs in other states. My divorce was finalized last month. I got the house, half of our assets including the money Jake had spent on his affair, which the judge ordered him to repay. And I'm moving on with my life.
But the fallout has been intense. Jake's family is furious with me.
His mother called me vindictive and said that everyone makes mistakes and that I destroyed his life over one error in judgment. His sister sent me a long text saying that I was cruel and that revenge isn't justice. Some of Melissa's family members have reached out to say that while they don't condone what she did, they think I went too far in destroying her career.
Her MOM, who I've known since I was a kid, said she understands that I'm hurt, but that ruining someone's livelihood is crossing a line.
Even some of my own friends are divided.
My sister completely supports what I did and says Jake and Melissa got what they deserved. But my college roommate thinks I should have just divorced Jake quietly and moved on with my life instead of
stooping to their level. My brother said that while he understands my anger, he is worried about the person I've become.
He said that the revenge has made me cold and calculating, and that he's concerned about how much hatred I'm carrying around. Jake has been trying to reach me through mutual friends, saying that he knows he's screwed up, that I've destroyed his entire life, and that the punishment doesn't fit the crime. He's apparently been struggling with depression and has had to start seeing a therapist.
Melissa sent me a letter last week saying that she's had to file for bankruptcy because she lost so many clients, and that she's been getting harassing messages from strangers who saw my social media post. She said she deserves consequences for what she did, but that I've gone beyond what anyone deserves. The thing is, I don't feel bad about it. Maybe I should, but I don't.
They didn't just cheat on me, they humiliated me, stole from me, and laughed about it behind my back for 8 months.
They made me feel like a fool in my own home with my own husband and my own best friend.
Jake keeps saying it was just sex,
and that they never meant to hurt me. But those emails prove that's not true. They enjoyed hurting me. They got off on deceiving me. Melissa wrote that she loved having a secret from me and that it made her feel special to know something I didn't.
They destroyed my marriage, my trust, my sense of security, and my ability to have children with the man I thought was my soulmate. They stole money that was meant for our family's future.
They turned my own home into a place where I felt betrayed and humiliated. So why should I have protected their careers?
Why should I have kept their secret so they could continue to benefit
from their lies?
But I'm starting to wonder if I went too far. Jake has been unemployed for 2 months and is having trouble finding work anywhere.
Melissa had to move away from her family and start over in a new city.
Some people are saying that I've become obsessed with revenge and that I need to let go of the anger. My therapist, yes. I'm seeing one who says that revenge rarely brings the closure we think it will, and that I need to focus on healing rather than on punishing Jake and Melissa.
She's concerned that I'm defining myself by their
betrayal instead of moving forward with my own life. I've started dating someone new, and he's amazing.
But he's expressed some concern about the level of anger I still carry toward my ex-husband and former best friend. He says he understands why I'm hurt, but that he's worried about getting involved with someone who is capable of such calculated revenge.
Last week, I found out that Jake has been telling people that I always had a mean streak, and that he cheated because I was emotionally unavailable and impossible to please. He's rewriting history to make himself the victim and be the villain.
Melissa is apparently in therapy too, and has been telling people that she lost herself during her divorce and that the affair was a cry for help that I turned into a weapon against her. They've both found ways to make themselves the victims of my cruel revenge instead of taking responsibility for their actions. But here's what really bothers me. People seem more upset about my response to being betrayed than they are about
the betrayal itself.
Everyone agrees that cheating is wrong, but they're more focused on criticizing my disproportionate reaction than on holding Jake and Melissa accountable for their choices. I've been called vindictive, cruel, calculating,
and obsessed with revenge. But Jake and Melissa are described as people who made mistakes and deserve forgiveness. Why is my anger more concerning than their betrayal?
Why is my response to being humiliated worse than their decision to humiliate me?
I didn't force Jake to cheat on me.
I didn't force Melissa to sleep with my husband.
I didn't force them to
steal money from our joint accounts or to mock me in their private messages.
They made those choices, and I simply made sure there were consequences for those choices. But maybe I did go too far.
Maybe I should have just divorced Jake and cut
contact with Melissa and let them continue their lives without interference from me. Maybe revenge really isn't justice, and maybe I've become someone I don't recognize. I don't know anymore.
The anger felt good at first. It felt like power after feeling so powerless.
But now I'm wondering if it's eating me alive and preventing
me from truly moving on.
So Reddit, Aita, did I go too far in destroying their careers, or did they deserve the consequences of their actions? Should I have handled this differently, or were they responsible for the fallout from their own choices? I'm genuinely confused about whether I am a woman who stood up for herself, or someone who let revenge consume her.
I need outside perspectives.
Because everyone in my life is either completely on my side or completely against what I did. Update. A lot of people are asking about the new guy I'm dating. His concerns about my capacity for revenge have been weighing on me. Maybe that's
part of why I'm questioning whether I went too far.
I don't want to be defined by what Jake and Melissa did to me, but I also don't want to be with someone who thinks I should have just taken their betrayal lying down.
Edit. To everyone asking why I didn't just move on, he stole money from
me, lied to me for 8 months, and humiliated me in my own home. Moving on doesn't mean pretending that didn't happen or protecting them from the consequences of their choices.
Edit 2. Yes, I know revenge doesn't undo the betrayal.
But it wasn't about undoing anything, it was about making sure they faced real consequences for their actions instead of just getting to start fresh while I dealt with the aftermath of their choices alone. Aita, for telling my half-siblings that their mother has been cheating on our dad for years. This is probably going to be the most controversial thing I've ever posted, but I need to know if I'm completely in the wrong here. My family is imploding, and everyone is blaming me for destroying innocent children's lives, but I think they deserve to know the truth about their mother. I'm 20 to F, and this involves my dad 51M, my stepmother Carla 38F, and my 3 half-siblings, Tyler 16M, Madison 14F, and Sophie 11F.
My parents divorced when I was 8, and my dad married Carla when I was 10.
My MOM moved across the country for work, so I've been living primarily with my dad and Carla since then. I want to be clear up front. Carla and I have never gotten along. She's always treated me like an outsider in what she considers her family. She's made comments about how I'm just like my mother always said with disgust, how I'm not really part of the family, and how things would be so much easier if I just lived with my MOM full time. When the kids were younger, Carla would
do things like plan family activities on my weekends with dad, book family vacations during my school breaks without including me, and generally make it clear that I was tolerated, but not wanted.
My dad always took her side, saying I was being dramatic and that Carla was doing her best with a difficult situation, but my half-siblings have always been amazing. Tyler, Madison, and Sophie have never made me feel like less than a full sister. They include me in everything. They come to me for advice, and they've always defended me when Carla makes her snide comments. They call me their real sister and have told me multiple times that they wish I lived with them full time about 2 years ago. I started noticing some weird things about Carla's behavior. She was always on her phone. She started going out with girlfriends multiple nights a week, and she began working out obsessively and buying expensive new clothes. She also became even more hostile toward me, almost like she was trying to push me out of the house entirely. The first real sign something was wrong was when I came home early from college last spring. I go to a local community college and live at home and found Carla in our backyard pool with a man I didn't recognize. They weren't doing anything inappropriate that I could see, but they were sitting very close together, and she was wearing a bikini I'd never seen before. When Carla saw me, she got flustered and introduced the man as Derek, a friend from work. She said they were discussing a project and that he was just leaving. The whole interaction felt off, but I didn't think much of it at the time. Over the next few months, I started paying more attention. Carla was getting texts at all hours that made her smile in ways I'd never seen. She started doing her hair and makeup even when she was just running errands. She bought new lingerie and hid the shopping bags in her closet. I only know because I was looking for a phone charger she'd borrowed. The smoking gun came 6 months ago. I was doing laundry in the basement when I heard Carla on the phone upstairs. She was talking in a voice I'd never heard before, soft, flirty, almost giggly. I could only hear bits and pieces, but I heard her say things like,
I can't wait to
see you again, and you make me feel so alive, and I just need to figure out how to handle the kids. I knew I was probably eavesdropping on something I shouldn't be hearing, but I couldn't help myself. Then I heard her say, I know leaving him would be complicated, but I can't keep pretending to be happy. The kids would adjust eventually. My blood ran cold. She was talking about leaving my dad,
but more than that, she was talking about it like
the kids were just obstacles to be managed rather than people whose lives would be destroyed. I started keeping track of Carla's lies.
She said she was working late, but I drove by her office and her car wasn't there.
She said she was at book
club, but when Madison mentioned the book club to one of Carla's actual friends,
the friend looked confused and said Carla had never been part of any book club. 3 months ago, I followed her.
I know that sounds terrible, but I was desperate to know what was going on.
She said she was going to her sister's house to help
with a project, but instead, she drove to a restaurant across town.
I watched her meet the same man from the poor Derek, and they were all over each other, kissing, holding hands, looking at each other like they were the only people in the room. I took pictures.
I know that's invasive, but I needed proof of
what I was seeing. But here's the thing that really got to me. While I was watching Carla cheat on my dad, I was getting texts from Sophie asking me to help her with her math homework, and from Madison asking if I thought Dad seemed sad lately.
My half-siblings were worried about our dad and coming to me for support, while their mother was planning to destroy their family. I confronted Carla 2 weeks later.
I told her I knew about Derek and that she needed to either end the affair or
tell Dad the truth.
She completely denied everything at first, but when I showed her the pictures, she broke down. But instead of being remorseful, she got angry. She said I was just like my mother, always trying to destroy other people's happiness. She said that her relationship with Derek was real love and that she'd been miserable with my dad for years. She said she was planning to leave him anyway, and that I was just a bitter stepdaughter who couldn't stand to see her happy. Then she said something that really hurt. You've never been part of this family anyway. When I leave, at least the kids won't have to pretend to care about you anymore. I told her she had 1 week to tell Dad, or I would tell him myself.
She laughed and said that Dad would never believe me over her, and that if I tried to destroy her family, she would make sure I was cut off from my half-siblings forever. I realized then that Carla wasn't just cheating on my dad, she was planning
to take the kids and leave, and she was going to make sure they never saw me again. She was going to destroy my relationship with the only family I had left. So I made a decision that everyone is now saying was horrible. I told Tyler, Madison,
and Sophie the truth. I asked them to meet me at a coffee shop near their school.
Tyler drove. He just got his license and brought the girls.
I told them I had something important to tell them about their MOM, and that I needed them to hear it from me before they heard it from anyone else. I showed them the pictures of Carla and Derek together.
I told them about the phone conversations I'd overheard.
I explained that their MOM was planning to leave their dad, and that she was going to try to take them with her and cut off their relationship with me. The reaction was devastating.
Sophie started crying immediately.
Madison got angry and accused me of lying. Tyler just sat there in shock, staring at the pictures. But then Tyler said something that broke my heart. I knew something was wrong.
Dad's been so sad lately, and Mom's been so mean to him. I thought maybe they were just going through a rough patch, Madison said. Is this why she's been asking us weird questions about whether we'd want to live somewhere else? It turned out that Carla had been slowly preparing
the kids for a move without telling them why.
She'd been asking them how they'd feel about changing schools, whether they'd miss their friends, whether they thought they could be happy in a new place. She was manipulating them into being okay with her plan to leave. The kids were devastated.
But they were also grateful that I told them.
Tyler said he'd rather know the truth than be lied to.
Madison said she was glad I'd given them time to process before everything fell apart.
Even Sophie, who was the most upset, said she was happy I told them because now they could be ready for what was coming. I asked them not to tell anyone that I told them, but to keep their eyes open and be prepared for their world to change.
I told them that no matter what happened, I would always be their sister and I would always be there for them. That was a week ago. Yesterday, everything exploded. Carla came home from work to find Tyler, Madison, and Sophie sitting in the living room with suitcases packed. They told her they knew about Derek and that they weren't going anywhere with her. They said they wanted to stay with Dad and that they were disappointed in her. Carla immediately knew I had told them.
She started screaming at me, calling me a jealous, vindictive bitch who had poisoned her children against her. She said I had no right to tell them and that I had destroyed their innocence and traumatized them for life. Dad came home in the middle of this screaming match.
When he found out what was happening, he was devastated. He kept asking Carla if it was true, and she eventually admitted to the affair, but said it was complicated and that she never meant for it to happen.
The kids were incredible.
They comforted Dad. They told him they loved him, and they made it clear that they wanted to stay with him.
Tyler told Dad that he was proud to be his son and that he was sorry MOM hurt him. Madison hugged Dad and told him he deserved better. Sophie climbed into his lap and said she wanted to take care of him like he'd always taken care of them. But Carla was furious. She said I had manipulated the kids and turned them against their mother. She said that children shouldn't have to deal with adult problems and that I had stolen their childhood by telling them about the affair. She's been calling me non-stop, alternating between begging me to help her fix things with the kids and screaming at me for destroying her family.
She says the kids will never trust anyone again because of what I did, and that I've damaged them permanently. My dad is filing for divorce and wants full custody of the kids.
Carla is threatening to fight him and saying that I've brainwashed the children and that they need therapy to undo the damage I've caused. But here's the thing. The kids seem
relieved. They're sad about their parents' divorce, obviously, but they're not traumatized by knowing the truth.
Tyler said he's glad to understand why everything felt so weird at home. Madison said she feels better knowing what was really going on. Sophie is the most upset, but even she said she's happy to stay with Daddy. However, other people are
furious with me. My MOM called me from across the country to tell me I was completely out of line and that I had no business telling minor children about their mother's affair.
She said I should have told my dad and let him handle it as the parent. Carla's family is blaming me for destroying the kids' relationship with their mother. Her sister called me cruel and said I was using the children as weapons in some kind of revenge plot against Carla. Some of my friends think I did the right thing, but others are saying I should have stayed out of it. My college advisor, who I'm close with, said she understands why I felt protective of my siblings, but that children shouldn't be burdened with adult secrets. Even some of Dad's friends are divided. Some are saying I'm a good sister who protected the kids from being
manipulated.
Others are saying I should have let the adults handle it and that I've traumatized Tyler, Madison, and Sophie. The thing is, I don't think I traumatized them. I think Carla traumatized them by planning to destroy their family and use them as pawns in her escape plan. I think she traumatized them by being willing to cut them off from their father and from me just so she could start a new life with Derek. Carla keeps saying that the kids didn't need to know and that I stole their innocence.
But they were already living with the effects of her affair. They were already worried about Dad, already sensing that something was wrong, already being manipulated by her questions about moving away. I didn't steal their innocence. I gave them
the information they needed to make sense of what was happening to their family.
I gave them the chance to choose their own path instead of being dragged along with Carla's plan. But maybe I was wrong.
Maybe kids really shouldn't have to deal with adult problems.
Maybe I should have just told Dad and let him handle it.
Maybe I was just being selfish because I was scared of losing my relationship with my siblings. The kids are in therapy now, not because they're traumatized by what I told them, but because they're dealing with their parents' divorce.
The therapist says they're remarkably well adjusted and that they have strong family bonds that will help them through this difficult time. But Carla is using the therapy as evidence that I damaged them.
She's telling everyone that the kids are so traumatized by what I did that they need professional help. I don't know what to believe anymore. The kids seem okay, but everyone is telling me I was wrong. Maybe I was being protective, or maybe I was being vengeful. Maybe I was looking out for my siblings. Or maybe I was just trying to hurt Carla the way she'd hurt me over the years. I keep thinking about what would have happened if I hadn't told them. Carla would have continued her affair, probably for months longer. She would have continued manipulating the kids into being okay with moving away.
She would have eventually left Dad and taken the kids with her, cutting off their relationship with him and with me. The kids would have been lied to throughout the entire process.
They would have been told that Daddy didn't love them enough
to fight for them, or that the divorce was mutual and amicable. They would have been moved away from their friends, their school, their extended family,
and me, all to facilitate their mother's affair. Is that really better than knowing the truth? But I also think about Sophie crying when I showed her the pictures. I think about Madison's anger when she realized her mom had been lying to her. I think about Tyler's shock when he saw the evidence of his mother's betrayal. Did I really protect them? Or did I just hurt them in a different way?
I'm second-guessing everything now.
The kids say they're grateful I told them, but they're also dealing with their parents' divorce and their mother's anger. They're standing by their decision to stay with Dad, but they're also sad about losing their relationship with their mom. Carla is moving out next week and will have supervised visitation with the kids until the custody hearing. She's still with Derek and is planning to move in with him. She's telling everyone that the kids will come around once they get over what I did to them. But Tyler told me yesterday that he doesn't want to see his mom right now because he's too angry at her. Madison said she feels betrayed by her mom and doesn't know if she can trust her again. Sophie is the most conflicted. She misses her mom but doesn't understand why her mom chose Derek over Daddy. I wanted to protect my siblings, but maybe I just made everything worse for them. Maybe they would have been better off not knowing until they were older.
Maybe I should have found a different way to handle the situation. So Reddit, aita.
Did I do the right thing by telling my half-siblings the truth about their mother's affair? Or did I traumatize them by involving them in adult problems? Should I have handled this differently? Or were they better off knowing what was really happening to their family? I honestly don't know if I'm a protective sister or someone who used children to get revenge on a stepmother I never liked.
I need
Outside perspectives because I'm drowning in guilt and second-guessing every decision I made. Update. Tyler just texted me saying, "Thank you for telling us the truth. We're sad, but we're not broken. We love you." I'm crying as I type this. Edit. People keep asking why I didn't just tell my dad. Carla has always been very good at manipulating him and making me look like the problem.
I was afraid he wouldn't
believe me, or that he would confront her and she would just deny everything and then disappear with the kids.
I felt like the kids deserved to know what was happening to their own lives. Edit 2. Yes, I know involving children in adult problems is controversial.
But these children were already being affected by their mother's choices. They were living with the tension, the lies, and the manipulation. I gave them information, not burdens. There's a difference between protecting children and lying to them.
Am I the a-hole for cancelling our wedding 3 weeks before the date because of what my fiancée did at her baccalaureate party?
Hey Reddit, I'm seriously lost right now. This has been the hardest week of my life, and I need some outside perspective, because my world's falling apart. I 30M was supposed to marry my fiancée Emily 28F in 3 weeks. We've been together for 5 years, engaged for 1, and we've been planning this wedding for almost a full year. Everything was set: venue, vendors, dress, family flying in.
Non-refundable deposits, everything. Emily and I met through mutual friends.
She's smart, funny, driven, kind. I truly believed she was the one. Our relationship has had normal
ups and downs, but we've always communicated well, had similar values, and built what I thought was a solid foundation until last weekend. Emily went on her baccalaureate trip to Miami with 6 of her close girlfriends.
I knew about the trip for months and was totally cool with it. I trust her. Oh, I did. The first red flag was a video that got posted accidentally to one of her friend's Instagram stories.
It was only up for a few minutes before being deleted.
But another friend of mine happened to see it and screen recorded it. The video shows Emily in a club, not a big deal, but she's sitting on a guy's lap, facing him, with her arms around his neck. They're dancing or grinding, more accurately, and at one point, they kiss. Not a peck, a full-on, hands on the face kind of kiss. When I first saw it, I
honestly felt like I couldn't breathe. I waited until she got home the next night.
She came back smiling, kissed me like nothing had happened. I sat her down and asked her how the trip went. She gave me all the usual stories: fancy dinners, beach time, drinks, dancing. Then I showed her the video. Her face went pale immediately. She started stammering and said it wasn't what it looked like, that she was drunk, that her friends dared her to kiss a random guy as part of a baccalaureate challenge, that it didn't mean anything, that it was stupid, and she regretted it the second it happened. She swore she never got his number, that it ended there, that it was just a dumb kiss and she was just trying to have fun. I didn't yell. I just sat there, numb. Then I asked, "Would you have told me if there hadn't been a video?" She looked down, and that was my answer. She begged me not to blow everything up over one kiss.
Said we've built 5 years together, that it was one mistake, that she was drunk and scared of being seen as boring or uptight in front of her friends,
That she chose me.
that she's still choosing me, but I couldn't get the image out of my head. Her kissing some guy at a club while I was home writing.
My vows. I told her I needed space. For the past 5 days, I've stayed at my brother's house.
I've been replaying everything over and over. I know people make mistakes.
I know alcohol does stupid things.
But this wasn't a stranger sending
Me a rumor. I saw it with my own eyes. And I keep thinking,
if she's willing to do that now, what happens later, when marriage gets hard, when life gets boring or stressful? Will she accidentally cheat again and hope I don't find out?
2 days ago, I told her I'm calling off the wedding. I didn't
make it public yet. I just told her and her parents. She completely broke down sobbing, begging, calling me over and over. Her MOM called me cruel for throwing away everything over a single drunk moment. Her maid of honor texted me saying everyone knows baccalaureate parties are stupid and wild, and that I'm being a self-righteous jerk. Even some of my own friends think I'm overreacting.
One of my groomsmen said, "Bro, it's a kiss. She didn't sleep with him. You're throwing away the best girl you've ever had over one bad night." But to me, it's not just about the kiss. It's about trust, about respect,
about honesty. So Reddit. Am I the a-hole for cancelling the wedding over one drunken
kiss? Or am I right to walk away?
Edit. Since this blew up, here's a little more info based on common questions. I'm not a super conservative guy. I've had EXEs, I've partied, I've been to Vegas,
but I've never done anything I'd be afraid to tell my partner about. We never had an open relationship. We were very clear on monogamy, and we both agreed we didn't want strippers or anything sexual at our bachelor or baccalaureate parties.
I don't think she's a horrible person.
I think she made a really bad choice.
But I can't marry someone who betrays me and wouldn't have told me unless she got caught. Update. I officially called the wedding of this morning. I sent out a brief message to our guest list, letting them know the wedding was postponed indefinitely.
Due to personal reasons, I didn't go into details, just tried to be respectful. Emily came over last night begging for one last conversation.
She cried, pleaded, asked me to go to counseling, told me she'd cut off those friends if that's
what it took. She said she was drunk, embarrassed, and terrified of losing me. I listened. I really did. Then I told her, if we got married, and 5 years from now I kissed someone else drunk or not, would you forgive me? She didn't answer. That was all I needed. I still love her. I probably always will.
But love isn't enough without trust. And I need a partner who values what we have even when no one's watching. So no, Reddit.
I'm not the a-hole.
I'm just someone who decided that self-respect matters more than a pretty wedding.